So much for that rumor, huh? That's right. Plus, more on Ron Rivera's whereabouts this week as the Senior Bowl continues and the search for an offensive coordinator continues as well. And where exactly is Payne going, if he's going anywhere? That's next. Coming up on the Locked On Commanders podcast. Come and join us.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alrighty, Commanders fans, welcome aboard one and all to the Locked On Commanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team each and every day. We're your daily podcast cover the Washington Commanders, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and the WUSA 9 Plus app on your Roku or Amazon Fire Stick. We thank you for making us your first listen and view of the day. My partner, David Harrison, is in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl, where Ron Rivera is not. He's providing coverage as part of the Locked On crew at the Senior Bowl. We're also posting their coverage the next couple of nights, so look forward to that as part of Locked On's exclusive Senior Bowl coverage. I'm Chris Russell, one half of the Russell and Medhurst Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app. You can find us live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern Time, or anytime along with this show, live or on demand on the Odyssey app. When we're not here or there, we're on Twitter. David, follow him at dharrison82, me at Russellmania621, and the show at LO Commanders. Today's episode of LOC is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. If you've ever dreamed of becoming an NFL GM, managing your own football franchise, I hear one might need a little kick in the pants, then this game is definitely for you. To download the game, visit ultimate-gm.com. or look it up in the app stores. Our listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in all caps. That's Locked On in all caps in the game. All right, so we start with the breaking news in the NFL from Tuesday afternoon, and that is, so much for that crazy rumor and all that smoke and speculation, right? Sean Payton is not going to become the new Commanders head coach and grand poobah of football operations, as Colin Cowherd and Rex Ryan have speculated the last week. And as David and I have talked about, there was the wacky kind of connection, not wacky so much, but just hard to believe connection between Sean Payton and Tom Brady, floated by Rex Ryan. And of course, they've been reportedly joined at the hip for the last year plus at least. And so much for Sean Payton and the Commanders being the team getting their ducks in a row and all this stuff that Colin Cowherd floated from a Diana Rossini report of ESPN last week. Again, we've talked about all of this because our responsibility is to address legitimate rumors from legitimate people in the media that may or may not have legitimate sources. And as it turned out, again, these people were probably just speculating and trying to connect the dots and trying maybe to say something to fan the flames and get people excited and get people pumped up and get people to watch their shows. Quite honestly, how many people watch Colin Cowherd on Fox Sports 1 from noon to 3 Eastern Time? I don't know, 100,000 maybe in a country of 360 plus million? I mean, I'm sure people listen to the radio. I hope they do. Rex Ryan, how many people watch NFL Countdown? With he and Teddy Bruschi and the rest of the crew. 500,000? I have no idea. Some of these ratings are really, really, really weird. Sometimes these analysts are told, fan the flames. Sometimes they're told, hey, say something to get us some pop, some sizzle. And I think that's exactly what happened here. Sean Payton is heading to the Denver Broncos reportedly, as we speak, I don't think the team has made it official, via a trade negotiated between the New Orleans Saints and the Broncos. The Broncos, who already paid a king's ransom for Russell Wilson last offseason, and that turned out to be a complete flop, a complete disaster, are going to send another first-round pick this year's and a second-round pick, I believe that's next year's, and get Sean Payton plus a third-round pick back from the New Orleans Saints in the deal for the rights to hire Sean Payton. Congratulations, good luck. It was never likely going to work here in Washington for many reasons, most notably, again, ownership not even being close to being settled, the timing of building a staff. Remember, if we were talking about late March, early April, or even after the draft and at the end of April, how do you put together a qualified, bona fide staff that allows you to hit the ground running? How do you do all that in that time frame? It was always going to be a very, 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 very difficult process, not to mention that Ron Rivera did finish 8-1, and year 3 wasn't a disaster by any means. Now, Payton is a better coach. I think we all understand that. And he certainly knows offense, and he's a people mover, and he would inspire the fan base and excite the fan base. And that's why we gave it a very small chance. It probably wasn't fair to Rivera to speculate, but I didn't speculate. Colin Cowherd speculated. I didn't speculate. David didn't speculate. Rex Ryan speculated. Blame them, not me, not David, not us, not this show. We did our job. We reacted. We responded. We took legitimate media personalities, one an ex-head coach that could know Sean Payton, one that could know agents, one that works on ESPN. We took a prominent media personality, one that has a huge platform on Fox. What do you want us to do? So don't be mad at us. I mean, Sean Payton's a great coach, and he would have made the Commanders better. How much better? I don't know with what they would have had to pay. They would have had to pay the 16th overall pick and probably a second-round pick maybe this year, kind of like the Broncos are doing. Although the Broncos, again, because of their previous trade, I think the second-round pick is next year. Whatever, I'm getting confused. They don't have first-round picks for the next couple of years because of the Russell Wilson trade. And remember, the Commanders were hard in on Russell Wilson and offered 3 first-round picks. So maybe if they had landed Russell Wilson last offseason, maybe Sean Payton would be coming here. Maybe Ron would have been fired. Who knows? I mean, at least as much of a disaster as the Carson Wentz situation, at least they can get out of that with 2 third-round picks and just the $28 million. And make no mistake about it, it was a disaster. We all know, again, Payton, better coach, certainly better offense, but what we don't know is how good he would have been here, say, with Sam Howell. I mean, unless they landed Tom Brady, which, of course, would have been the other caveat to that. We don't know how good he would have been with Sam Howell. Like, the notion that any coach can come in just because he's had a long track record of success and work with anybody and make magic is absurd. Like, Sean Payton, over the last 15 years, led the NFL in yards per play, third down conversion percentage, and red zone touchdown percentage. That's great. That's great. But he also had Drew Brees, a Hall of Fame quarterback. Please remember that. And while it was fun to speculate and dream and maybe think, it's not going to work out, barring a complete fall apart scenario with the Broncos before the contract is actually signed. Congratulations to DeMeco Ryans. He's off from San Francisco to the Houston Texans, gets a 6-year deal, which is interesting because that's what Kyle Shanahan got from San Francisco after they fired coaches back-to-back years after just 1 year on the job. Almost the same exact model, except DeMeco Ryans not going to have the personnel control that Kyle had when he went to San Francisco. The 49ers, to try and replace DeMeco Ryans, have requested an interview with Chris Harris, the former defensive backs coach of the Washington Commanders, who recently joined the Titans. Not sure if that's official or not, as their passing game coordinator. And, again, that's where he's going to go if he doesn't get a defensive coordinator spot somewhere else. So keep an eye on that. The latest on the Commanders' offensive coordinator search. Listen, what's clear as of late Tuesday night, as far as we know it, is the Commanders have not announced that they have interviewed Eric Bieniemy. What isn't clear is what the NFL constantly changing rules are for a virtual interview when a coach is preparing for the Super Bowl and in the first week of the 2-week prep period. I believe, emphasis believe, they are allowed to request an interview with the enemy, conduct an interview virtually, I believe, in the first week. But that's not 100% clear. What is clear is that the enemy's contract expires after the Super Bowl, and the Commanders or any other team can't officially announce a hire of the enemy until then. We will keep you posted. Coming up, more on the Ron Rivera travel dilemma. And is someone on the Commanders roster going to be a pain in the backside to sign? It might not be who you think. That is next right here on the Locked On Commanders podcast. But first, we tell you about our friends, as we told you at the beginning of the show, from Ultimate Football GM. That's right. This podcast is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. We're really pumped up about our partners at Ultimate Football GM, the ultimate mobile game. If you've ever dreamed of becoming an NFL GM and managing your own football franchise, I'm sure you would show up at the Senior Bowl or hire an offensive coordinator before mid-February. Well, your dream can come true, and this game is definitely for you. You manage every aspect of your team and organization, trading players, draft, hiring the right coaches and coordinators, firing people, all sorts of things. It's fun. You can play it mobile. You can play it on your desktop, whatever you want to do. Just get the game downloaded. Locked On Commanders listeners get a 100% free boost for their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in all caps. That's Locked On in all caps in the game store. That's Locked On, again, in all caps. Make sure you check it out today. Visit and download ultimate-gm.com or look it up in the app stores. That's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty today. All right, we are back with you on the Locked On Commanders podcast right here on LOC. Good to have you with us. I'm Chris Russell again. David Harrison in Mobile, Alabama, where the Senior Bowl is being hosted all this week, and Locked On is at the Senior Bowl. David and a crew is down in Mobile checking out the next wave. Get inside analysis from the hosts that cover the next NFL's generation in college and find out which NFL draft boards these players will be climbing all in one location. Subscribe to Locked On NFL Draft, nightly live shows from the Senior Bowl all this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern time. And just as we told you on the last episode, as we told you at the top, we're going to be posting those episodes as well in our feed, video and audio, so you can check out David and his colleagues and our colleagues from Locked On and everything they're seeing and noticing and taking note and observing down in Mobile, Alabama, the Commanders, with a large contingent, but not Ron Rivera. More on that in just a second. All right. So we told you who might be a pain in the backside to sign. And it's not the name you're probably thinking of, although that is not going to be easy. Obviously, we refer to Daron Payne. However, a guy that's not a free agent is already creating waves on social media. And it's not just him. It's his dad. It's former 7th-round pick out of Arkansas, Cam Curl, Mr. Versatile, switchblade, do it all, do it everything. His dad started on Monday, and I kind of let it just lie because it's dad. And even though dad is instrumental, okay, fine, what have you. So what happened was the Washington Times, and I believe it was Matt Paris, posted a story on Twitter that said Cam Curl's possible contract extension looms over Commanders offseason. And he, meaning Greg Curl, Cameron Curl's dad, attached a tweet to it saying nothing less than $80 million, to which that drew some criticism, rightfully so. Then in further responses and further exchanges with Commanders fans, presumably, Greg Curl, Cam's dad, said 80 for FA4, which I assume means 80 million for 4 years, or 105 for 5 years, 130 million for 6 years. That's what he said. That's on Greg Curl's Twitter. Dad of Cameron Curl. Cameron Curl, obviously getting some criticism from somebody, I haven't read it all, just simply tweeted on Tuesday, quote, "Get out my pockets," end quote. Curl finished his third year of his rookie seventh-round deal. He is not a free agent. He is now eligible for an extension, and he is looking to get paid. And I love Cameron Curl. I think he's great. There is no doubt he is a vital, vital, vital chess piece to the Washington Commanders. I got to be honest with you. If he's looking for $80 million over 4 years, $105 million over 5, $130 over 6, as his dad contends, alleges, indicates, whatever the numbers are, you can't pay Cameron Curl that kind of money. You just can't. You just can't. You can't. I mean, you have Derek Forrest, you have Jeremy Reeves. I know Bobby McCain is 1 year away from free agency. I got it. I understand all of it. I'm not saying this is an easy decision, but I can't make another $80+ million mistake like they did terribly with Landon Collins. Now, they are different players. I got it. But look, I want Cam Curl to get paid. I want Cam Curl to be paid a reasonable amount. You know, you want to tell me $10 million a year? You want to tell me $12 million a year? Maybe we can do that. I can't do $20+ million a year. I'm sorry. I can't do it. Maybe I'm missing something, but I can't do it. Greg Curl responded apparently on Tuesday night as well. Quote, "All these unsolicited feelings" on my post with a bunch of smiling and laughing faces. So that might be your pain to deal with in terms of getting an extension. How about this? Deron Payne, who you thought is who now listen, Deron Payne is going to be a pain in the butt to sign too, and he's not going anywhere. I mentioned in the tease, where's he going? And the answer is here. He's going to play on the franchise tag at the very minimum. At the very minimum. Now, could he be traded? I suppose. I don't think that's very likely. He is going to be franchise tag. Now, whether that's the exclusive or the non-exclusive, my guess would be the non-exclusive. There is a difference in terms of the pay rates. The figures came out. Deron Payne, I believe, it's about $18.5 million in terms of the franchise tag for the upcoming 2023 season. However, Matt Bowen, ESPN analyst, we kind of mentioned this last week. He was putting together his top 50, and he noted that Deron Payne was on his rise up, on his way up. Well, Matt Bowen of ESPN, former Washington safety, longtime NFL defensive back, and now analyst for the last decade plus for ESPN, does a lot of work with film and all that stuff. Very smart, very analytical. Has Deron Payne at number 4 on his top 50 free agent list. He's 26 entering the 2023 season. Here's what he wrote. Payne posted career numbers in his contract season with 11.5 sacks and 32 solo tackles from the defensive tackle position. A big, powerful mover at 6'3", 320 pounds, Payne is a disruptive defender with foot quickness and lower body agility who can play in multiple fronts. His pass rush win rate when lined up inside was 12.7%, which ranked 12th in the NFL. He could be in line for a big deal based on his 2022 film. I remember when Deron Payne was drafted, and even in the first year or two, there were many that kept saying that Deron Payne was mostly and only and primarily a run stuffer. I kept telling you on this podcast and on the radio and on Twitter, that wasn't the case. That's not what the tape showed at Alabama. That's not what people that really, really knew the player were telling me, in addition to what I saw myself in his final year at Alabama. Javon Hargrave was number 3 of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's a couple of years older. I think he's 30. Orlando Brown of the Chiefs, number 2. Lamar Jackson, number 1, all ahead of Payne. Geno Smith at number 5, the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. There were no other Commanders on Matt Bowen's top 50 free agent list. Next edition of the Locked On Commanders podcast will look at the most important decision that the organization faces this offseason, and is that re-signing Payne to a long-term contract. All right, more on Ron Rivera. Just a quick note. On Tuesday on my radio show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app with Pete Medhurst, and on the Junkies on 106.7 The Fan, and maybe other shows, I'm not sure, Ron Rivera's travel logistics became a touchy, hot-button topic, and especially on Twitter at WrestleMania621. Now, we started this conversation, David and I, in case you missed it on the previous episode. So David's thoughts are there. My initial thoughts are there. But I got to be honest with you, I was quite surprised with the feedback and a lot of it negative energy that I got on social media about me being too tough on Ron. I simply said it was not a good look that you have an ongoing offensive coordinator search in week 4, and you have the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. And even though Jack Del Rio and several coaches, Travell Wharton, Jennifer King, so on and so forth, are down there, and a bunch of the scouts are down there, and Martin Mayhew, I got it. Ron might be on a week-ish or so long tour of Northern California playing in the Pebble Beach Pro-Am Celebrity, which may take him into the weekend if he makes the cut. You know, Thursday and Friday, yes. Maybe Saturday and Sunday, who knows? Now, listen, people are trying to say, well, it's not a big deal. You can watch stuff on tape. I got it. I understand that. You can't do interviews, in terms of the Senior Bowl, I don't believe, virtually live. Now, you can watch them, but you can't be boots on the ground. You can't get the extra little nuggets, if you will, unless you're there. Now, his staff can, but it doesn't always translate. And Ron might get a different feel from a kid or from somebody else that he runs into down there. But that's not even the problem. If Ron didn't want to go to the Senior Bowl, okay, I guess I can live with that. But he should be at Command Central watching tape, turning over every stone, analytic, watching every breakdown he can of Eric Bieniemy, of Thomas Brown and the Rams, of Pat Shurmur, and what he's done in the past, and so on and so forth. Maybe even what Anthony Lynn and the 49ers running game. He should be doing all of that. He should be trying to expand the search. Talk to Greg Roman, maybe Byron Leftwich, maybe who knows? All the names that we haven't heard connected. All the quarterbacks. Shea Tierney with the New York Giants. How about Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator, who just finished with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in terms of an interview there. Why can't we talk to all these guys? Why do we have to have the search only be 5 or 6 guys? Makes no sense to me, guys. Makes no sense to me. This is a bad week for a vacation. I got to be honest. And a lot of people were like, oh, you don't take days off, this, that, and the other thing. I do take days off. I don't take days off during Senior Bowl week and when I'm looking for an offensive coordinator unless there's a family emergency. That's it, period. That's when I take time off, okay? Or the summer when nothing's going on after minicamp. That's it. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. He's doing nothing illegal, but it's not a good look. All right. Do the Commanders need to make a certain kind of splash this offseason? We'll quickly answer that when we return right here on LOC. But first, guys, this episode is brought to you by our new partners at FanDuel Sportsbook. That's right. We're pumped up to have our new sports betting partner right in time for the big game. Woo! FanDuel is at the Super Bowl, man. We're really excited about this partnership. It's off and running, and we've had great success so far, so keep it coming. FanDuel makes sports betting fun and easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back. That's right, you heard me. $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Think about that. If you lose, you win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads, same game parlays. I love FanDuel. I've been using their app for a couple of years now. I've, of course, got into sports gambling as we went along, learned more and more about it. It's easy to navigate, easy to use. So join FanDuel today, right in time for Super Bowl 57 at FanDuel.com/locked on to claim your no-sweat first bet, again, on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/locked on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And guys, while you're making bets on FanDuel, why don't you eat a little healthier? I know I need to eat a little healthier and snack a little bit better. How about a delicious meal replacement Well, then you got to try our friends at Built Bar. That's right. We got through the holidays. Everybody's trying to do better. It's time for February, New Year resolutions, whatever you might be, whatever you got to do to trick your mind. Here's the thing. Built Bar is no trick. It actually is awesome and tasty and healthy for you. They are high in macros, low in calories, low in net carbs, sugar, high in protein, delicious flavors like peanut butter brownie, and all in 100% real chocolate. And now you don't even have to order through builtbar.com. You can still do that, but you can simply go to your nearest Walmart, right? Everybody's got a Walmart, or your Sam's Club, check out the pharmacy section and get yourself a box of Built Bars. Or you can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. And again, at Sam's Club, they have the 13-bar box. So you covered 13 snacks, meal replacements, whatever it is. Again, check them out at Sam's Club, Walmart, or BuiltBar.com. You can thank us later. All right, wrapping up on the Locked On Commanders podcast, just a couple of minutes to go for this particular topic. And I threw it out there because I really don't think it's realistic in any sort of way. Last year I did. Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers quarterback, on the Pat McAfee show, which he joins every week, quote, "It sounds like there's already conversations going on that aren't involving me, which are interesting," he said, end quote. Rodgers said he's still taking his time to decide, but, quote, "I'm not a part of those conversations right now," end quote. Listen, now that Denver has closed with Russell Wilson and, of course, Sean Payton, that probably takes away, any possibility that Sean Payton would bring in Aaron Rodgers, of course, because of Russell Wilson, so on and so forth. But the Jets situation certainly bears watching because Nathaniel Hackett, his former Green Bay offensive coordinator, who my understanding is they had a good relationship, is now the Jets OC. Of course, we know the fallout from Zach Wilson and all the quarterback issues they had here. Tampa could still very much be open, but they're rebuilding and they're way over the cap. Some other situations are out there. Maybe San Francisco. He's from Northern California. Again, Brock Purdy torn in UCL, maybe out surgery, maybe longer than 6 months, maybe back in 6 months. We'll see. Jimmy Garoppolo, a free agent. They do have Trey Lance. So you got the point. Okay. So Aaron Rodgers says he's not aware of what is going on in these conversations, but it is very clear the Green Bay Packers are trying to trade and trying to build together a trade for Aaron Rodgers. And that brings us to this. Should the Commanders make a phone call? Should they be interested? Should they be involved? And I'll have more on this as we go along, but the first answer, the gut reaction, is absolutely not. No way, no chance, no thanks. I'm not dealing with that kind of mercurial personality. What it's going to take to get him, probably, again, at least a first-round pick, maybe more than that. At 40, with his salary, again, the trade would be negotiated. I have no idea what the negotiating terms would be, how much Green Bay would have to absorb, how much the trading team would have to absorb. But listen, you're not getting Aaron Rodgers for free. A, compensation, and B, you're going to pay a good amount of his contract. Whatever those numbers turn out to be, it is going to be probably very high. Listen, I like Aaron Rodgers overall as a quarterback. He's obviously one of the greats of all time. But I don't know, and I don't think he's done, but I don't think he's the MVP from back-to-back years. And there were even some signs in that playoff loss to San Francisco that he was already starting his decline. Last year didn't help, but I'm not ready to close the book. I'm just not ready to pull the trigger like I may have last offseason. Again, before the failed Carson Wentz disaster, before an 8-8-1 season, before Ron Rivera played his cards and came up short. So the answer, unless the price is super low, is hell no. All right, we want to thank you again for making the Locked On Commanders podcast your first listen and view of the day. Come on back for the next episode. I will have that at a time to be determined as news warrants. David and the Locked On crew have you covered from the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Again, we'll be populating their full episodes on the Locked On NFL Draft podcast and more from everything they are seeing in Mobile. So please go check that out if you want to be caught up to date on everything going on in Mobile, if you want to be boots on the ground, unlike Ron Rivera. Meanwhile, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. It's Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. You want to hop in? It's Locked On Washington Commanders at gmail.com, or you can DM us at LO Commanders on Twitter. Again, that's going to do it for us today, Commanders fans. Thanks again for joining us. We're free and available on all platforms, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For David Harrison, who is in Mobile. Again, check out all of the coverage for David, not only on his Twitter, at DHarrison82, Commander Country, SI.com, FanNation, and the Locked On NFL Draft special shows that are airing all this week and that we have populated in the feed. Check it all out from Mobile at the Senior Bowl. I'm merely Chris Russell, host of the Russell and Medhurst Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app. We'll be back right here on the Locked On Commanders podcast. Thanks for joining us.